The hot, steamy lowland tropical forests of Belize. This place has been impacted enormously by man for thousands of years. And despite that, it always seems to bounce back. Join me on today's expedition as we explore Central America's last best chance, the Maya Forest, a land of resilience. Belize is the smallest of Central American countries, both in landmass and in its population. The small population here has been instrumental in its most unique characteristic, its forests. Nearly 75% of the forests here still stand. We've been exploring the lowland tropical forests of the northwestern corner of Belize at Chonchich, highly isolated, but located on one of the many archaeological sites in this tiny nation. There's a shocking fact that's just coming to light here, within one of the most remote and wildest corners of the world. It's really incredible just how many temples like this there are, even at this one site here at Chonchich. Unfortunately, most of them have been looted like this one. That's how we're able to walk through this one temple. The Mayan sites were largely hidden to the outside world for a long, long time. When these sites were discovered, they knew that some sites were large. Thing is, we had no idea how large. Somewhere around 800 to 900 AD. This place was a medium-sized city, but the entire Petan region, the heart of the Mayan forest, probably held somewhere between 3.5 and 14 million people. Today, we only have 307,000. You know what that means? It means back then, this place was very, very different. Many millions of Mayans living here? How could they support such a large population using traditional methods of slash and burn, exhausting resources, and then moving on? The answer is, they didn't. We now know that ancient Mayan agriculture was very sophisticated. Ironically, in many cases, more so than it is today. In fact, we owe much of our modern menu to Central American cultures. To truly immerse ourselves in the rural communities, we travel to the opposite end of the country, to Cotton Tree Lodge, along the Moho River. Corn, beans, squash, papaya, avocado. Those are just a few of the crops that we use today that had their origin in the ancient past here in Central America. But the one that probably we couldn't really live without is this one. It's chocolate, cacao. First cultivated in this region, chocolate is one of the strangest plants on earth because of the way it produces fruit. Have a look at the stem of this plant. It's covered with flowers. Flowers that come from tiny little short shoots right out of the main stem. A few plants on earth do this, and it's called caulifery. Caul meaning stem, and flori, flower. So flowering directly from the stem. And then shortly thereafter, if they're fertile, you get a small pod. And that small pod will continue to enlarge until months later, you end up with this enormous pod. Inside of that is the secret for chocolate. This yellow variety is a good one to look at because it's ripe. So we've cut it, and if we split it open, you'll see that on the inside of this pod are all of these weird-looking white marshmallow-like structures. Now, those white marshmallow-like structures contain the seed. If we break into that, you can see a bright purple seed on the inside. That's what we call a chocolate bean. It's really the seed on the inside of a fleshy aril, all this gooey white stuff that surrounds the outside of each one of the seeds. And that is actually really sweet. But the seed itself, the cocoa, extremely bitter. You have to mix it with sugar to make chocolate. What they do is they actually collect the seeds
and then dry them. And after the seeds are dried and fermented, they turn dark. And that dark seed is the beginning of the process of making chocolate. We owe chocolate to the sophisticated cultures that arose here in the Neotropics in Central America. Cultures that gave us not just chocolate, but the staples of American life. So frequently we think of how important the original growth rainforests are for bird life. And not just bird life here, but also bird life that makes its way up to the States. Neotropical migrants, you hear about it all the time. Deforestation causing huge problems with neotropical migrants, reducing populations of beautiful warblers and orioles that we love and enjoy in our yards at home. Well, it's true that rainforest does shelter many species, but rainforest doesn't shelter all the species. In fact, many of our most beautiful neotropical migrants we've been watching this morning here at this farm. We're listening to hooded warblers. They're singing, flitting through, and calling from fruit trees that are planted here. Many crops planted here on this farm. But not just hooded warblers, chestnut-sided warblers in the Inga trees that are planted all around the edge of this farm. Magnolia warblers. Even down on the ground, we're seeing birds like ovenbirds and northern water thrushes. Same northern water thrush that we see in northern Canada is here during the wintertime. That's what's so amazing. All of these species that we've been watching this morning also make their home there, but they make their home here too. And they're not using just old-growth rainforest. They're using places around people. Not all agricultural spaces are great bird habitat. This space is. This space is a wholly and fully functional organic farm with a diversified crop base. That's really important for our migratory birds. Large-scale farming with chemicals, with pesticides, with herbicides, and only one crop are horrible places to go bird watching. But there's hardly a better place to go than an organic farm like this. If we're really concerned about the diversity of bird life that we see in our backyards at home, we have to be concerned with what goes on in places like this, Belize. Well, we're off to visit one of my favorite people on the planet, Nana Mensah, a good friend, and a man who has dedicated his life to working with an organization that's working both for the birds and the people of Belize.
We have to travel down the Moho River to the Boone Creek Research Station to meet Nana. On our way, my guide spots something pretty interesting on the riverbank.
Look at that. Wow. That's a nice boa constrictor. Well, my friend Armando spotted an ola as we were tooling along the river here down to meet Nana at the research station, and we were able to just snag her so that we could take a very close look at a beautiful Central American boa constrictor. She's a beauty, and apparently they love to sit here along the riverbank in these bamboo thickets because something they like to eat's here, and that's iguanas and iguana eggs, and also lots of rodents and paca and things in here along the river. But a gorgeous, yet a small one. I mean, they get 2-3 times as big as this. But a snake that I'm always feel fortunate to see when I'm able to see one out in the wild. You see them in the pet trade all the time, but to find a live and pretty friendly Central American boa along a river in Belize is an incredible experience. And you can tell this one's eaten recently. Take a look. You can see an iguana-shaped lump in her tummy. She's in a great place to get lots and lots of food. So we're going to put her right back where we found her. And a lot of times along the edge of water, because boas, just like anacondas, they're not afraid of water. They like water. So we're going to let her blend right back into the forest.
How can we change the ways we impact tropical forests by reducing slash and burn, while raising the quality of life and opportunities for the people who live here?
Welcome!
That's exactly what Nana and organizations like Sustainable Harvest are doing right here in Belize. Nana sweeps us off to see an example of sustainable organic agriculture at work. We're visiting a third-year participant, Rita, a Mopan Maya. Her farm lies way up in the hills, a considerable distance from the closest rugged dirt road.
Every day she comes on her bicycle with her dogs to tend her garden. Talk about a low-carbon footprint.
Rita is a charming, tough, and hard-working woman who has begun an exciting project here.
So a family like Rita comes to SHI and says, we want to participate in the program.
Yeah.
And then there's stages that you go through.
Yeah, definitely.
Multi-year training.
Yeah, she will go into different type of stages. We have different way of people getting to us.
Uh-huh.
We do not come out. The best way to actually help somebody is when the person calls for the help. If this happens, we kind of bring them together, give them introduction into our program, what the whole program is about. That is the first phase. And the second phase was what I kind of explained to you, more into nutritional aspect, setting up garden, planting trees, setting up nurseries, and making your own type of composting. And when it comes to the composting, we have different type of composting because you don't know the soil you are dealing with, the specific type of nutrient that soil has or what is lacking. So we should be able to let you know what is lacking within the soil and what specific type of compost you should use. All these things without forgetting about the Mayan culture. In the early stage of, if you learn the Mayan history, you'll find out that when they were going to plant something, when they eat fish or any animal, the bone that is left, they put it down and put the seed on it and cover it up. They knew that bone has some kind of nutrient that the soil needed. They could not tell us it was calcium, but now through lab we can say this is the issue. The same way we train our people without letting them forget what our ancestors taught us. So once you relate them to that and you teach them to use their compost, they fall in love with it and it becomes more easy for them to understand. Yeah. It's not a big language that you have to use because their ancestors and their grandparents used to use something similar.
So one of the keys is mulching. Slash and mulch instead of slash and burn. That protects the fragile tropical soil and builds fertility. Another key to sustainability on a single piece of ground is diversification. Rita shows us crop after crop.
This is the black beans. I plant these beans, I brought 30 pounds. And right now I have already harvested 1 sack. And I still have some more, and the rest will be
How many pounds
seed.
do you think in a sack?
100.
100 pounds?
100 pounds in a sack.
These crops are all interplanted, like these cocoa yams. This maximizes her yield and reduces pressure on the forest.
We are fighting for the sustainability. This is the land you are cultivating on. You keep on farming on the same land and try to preserve some of the area, not to use all. Gone are the days where people used to do that, cut down everything, set fire to it, and then when the land is not as rich as you want it, you leave it and go to different place. That is what we are trying to stop. We are fighting for a place that the people will be sustainable to whatever they are doing and also preserve some of the land that they have.
But perhaps the most important key to success is having help on the ground. And that support comes from the field officers.
First, me and my husband were working on farming too, but just at that time, I got sick, I got ill, and it was 3 years I was ill. And after that, we didn't have any more seed or we don't have anything else. They sent Bibiana to me, so that is the reason why Bibiana is working with me.
Bibiana, please come here. Bibiana is a field officer who assists Rita in whatever she does in terms of the technicality, the method of farming. Bibiana should be able to assist her to produce and also get to wherever she wants to reach.
The first female extension.
The first female extension, the only female extension you can find out in the country of Belize at this moment. And the best the fact is that we are proud of that because first men only thought it was them that could do the job. The women was to stay back. But here we have Bibiana being forward and also working with the women means she has equal right as the men do when it comes to being a field officer. And we should not keep them behind, but rather we should make them as part of the team.
And Rita's a great example.
Oh, Rita is great. And there's a first lady here.
A lot of visitors come to my farm and they say that they really love what we are doing, what I'm doing, me and Bibiana. She's the one. And she's very lucky that she find me. I'm hardworking.
Bravo! I love that.
The impact isn't confined to the countryside. We're off to visit with a farmer who lives on the outskirts of town on a much smaller piece of property. He's seen massive transformation of his land and his life.
Welcome to Gordon Garden. This is what sustainable harvest has brought me, man. I wanted to change my life and get into something, venture into something as a young man. I used to be on the street washing vehicles and hustling, which I am a hustler, right? That's it. Yeah, I am a hustler on the streets. You don't find no jobs. Not everybody could find a job, and that's the truth. And at the time I got conscious that, hey, you're out there looking for a job. There's thousands of people looking for a job too, so, the chance is very slim. You're really going to get that job, so you have to create. And I used to go around organizations and stuff, and one day I went to a forum, and I heard Mr. Nana got up on the mic. He talked about sustainable harvest and this new organization coming where he's going to help. And, I was downloading all this information, I was hungry. So I was feeding it in, and it sounded real good, dig. And I was at the blink of giving up. Yeah, like going back to the crime and, like, hey, man, go back and go sell drugs, go do some crazy thing, because, you're losing hope. In like less than a month, a field officer came to me. And in the same day, my work started. All I had back then was a shovel. But after that, man, the success is here to show now, man. It makes me proud because what I wanted come true. Look at the place. It's all her work too, man. Not just me. I have a good field officer.
I take a full tour of the garden, and Gordon illustrates just how powerful education can be to change our perspective on the value of trees.
This is my little retreat right here. This is where most of the day we'll spend our time and maybe share information and talk and do little work like when it's hot. Especially like this time of the year right now, it's very warm. And this is where we cool off. It's called 96 degrees in the shade, real hot. You got to get out the heat and get in the cool. And you see, this is exactly why the mission statement for sustainable harvest is to reforest. You see, because most people are cutting down. And I explain to my neighbors, whenever you're cutting, don't cut all the trees. And if you're cutting, plant back some trees.
Gordon grows many types of fruits and vegetables. Some of them are very familiar, and some are unique to this region, like the Cahoon palm, which has thousands of tiny coconut-like fruits. And there are others I bet you've never heard of.
Over here we have the Jipijapa. People find this in the jungle. Yeah, you find this in the jungle, you're good, man. You go eat. This thing is very, very healthy and rich. Let me see if I could get out one.
Oh, perfect. Wow.
This is it.
Just
right
that.
Here.
So just eat that?
Yeah,
just
bite it.
Oh, man. That's good.
That's it right there. That's exactly, and it has so much medicinal benefits.
Not everything here is an edible crop, but it all has value and special meaning to Gordon.
This is mahogany. This is the national tree
of Belize. Huh?
Yeah, I respect this tree. I really do respect this tree, and with sustainable harvest, we planted a lot. Thousands, maybe almost I had 500 mahogany trees in my nursery. Now tomorrow, what the children of tomorrow will have. You see, we might be the one, we might be the one reaping right now, but what about tomorrow? Can they reap? So I planted mahoganies. I might not reap them, but at least some kid will know that, hey, that's a mahogany tree. And I'm really angry right now with the way how they're destroying the forest. I've done it. I've done it too. But I'm reforesting back, putting back what I take so that it could always be there. But it's not every farmer thinks like that, And I also have cotton. Like if I get injured quickly, come get some cotton, which, it should be sterilized. But for me, I believe in my organic stuff. It's clean.
Most people don't even know that cotton is a tree, because in the U.S. it's all little herbs because we're not growing the natural cotton.
This is the natural one.
This is natural. The tree.
Perfect.
Cotton tree.
Cotton tree.
Everything Gordon needs is provided by his relationship with the land. But this is a small piece of ground, and he becomes disheartened with the way his neighbors are transforming their land.
This is one of the problems that I've been, trying to educate my neighbors about. They come and they cut down all the trees. And these trees been sitting here since I've been here. And no problem, But now they're going to slash and burn. In another week or so,
this is going to
go up in flames.
Yep.
Whatsoever was here, herbs, medicinal plants, gone. This is it. This is why when they say you destroy the rainforest, who knows, probably the cure for cancer is right in here. But it's gone again in fire. And that's why Sustainable Harvest is trying to educate, to learn. Because that's how I was educated. Because I would have done the same thing if I didn't know. You have to be the example, man. If you want somebody to learn something, it starts from you. You be the example.
From town to the most remote villages, the wave of organic farming is growing. We're extremely fortunate to travel to Santa Teresa and visit with a very traditional Quechua Mayan family. At 16 years old, Frugilio Choco is by far the youngest participant. He provides food for his family from his garden, has surplus to sell, and he demonstrates a mastery of organic techniques. The plants surrounding his crops are used to help with pests. Jack beans are planted to attract leafcutter ants away from his valuable crops. And even the living fence posts, Madre de Cacao, are used.
This one is called the magic cacao, right? I made it out of those magic cacao leaves.
Actually, these are used as a control for getting rid of insects that come to tamper around with the stream. You see those little these little holes? Those are all from these little bugs.
So this is made just from the leaves?
From the leaves?
Yeah,
from the leaves.
And you add some white lime with it.
If we stir this up, that acid you see in the top, it turns really green.
Oh, yeah. And what do you know? How do you use it? You pour it on the plants?
You take 1 liter of magic cacao to 5 gallons of water. You mix it and then you spray it.
Spray it on the
plant. Yeah.
The traditional way of life is foreign to those of us in America. 7 people share this home. The forest feels pressure from more than just agriculture. Cutting for firewood is another major issue. How do you solve it? With high-efficiency stoves. Just 2 or 3 small broken branches are enough to cook dinner. You don't need to cut trees to cook. You just use downed wood.
Oh, okay. Basically, she said she likes this a lot because there's less smoke coming out rather than that one. There's a lot of smoke, so she said she's crying when she's baking tortilla for Mr. Vicente all the time. Right. So, but when she's making it here, she's always happy. Right? You see the happy face making the tortillas today, right? And of course, if you come on this side, Patrick, is that you don't feel much heat on this side, right?
Right.
One of the advantages with this stove is actually we can leave this, and then tomorrow we can come back and feel it's still going to be warm.
Still going to be warm.
Right, because the way the combustion chamber is set up is actually has the wood ashes dark as a insulator. Is it insulator? It actually traps the heat inside, so it keeps it flowing.
It has clay in
it. Right. It has clay. These are all bricks that are covered with cement because the inside actually has clay that actually so that it can last longer.
And the chimney keeps smoke away from the women, helping them live healthier lives. Sustainable Harvest also helps build solar composting latrines. Amazing but simple devices that provide sanitation and even nitrogen from urea that you can use on your garden. And to my surprise, there's absolutely no smell, despite the fact 7 people are using it. The participants are involved in every aspect of the building of stoves and latrines, so they know how to do it and how to fix them, and hopefully can spread the knowledge. So what is the end product of all this? To find out, we make one last trip, far, far afield, on another beautiful day of 110-degree temperatures. We travel to the village of Columbia and board homemade dugouts and paddle upstream several miles to the farm of Saul Garcia. His farm is crawling with birds and wildlife. SHI encourages their participants to leave trees that attract birds. After all, they're providing pest control by eating insects. Saul's farm is an incredible example. For 52 years, he has tended this garden, and it's a perfect forest garden, much of it with a mature canopy.
So they're eating the inflorescence of the palm, which is really cool. That's a new one on me.
Many, many different fruits and crops of every conceivable sort, all interplanted. Resiliency is built in the number of options that you have.
The entire farm, toda la finca es orgánica, no? Yeah, so the whole farm.
Todo, puro machete.
Yeah.
Puro machete.
Puro machete.
Sin química, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
Sin química.
Sin química.
And all this is with machete and hand-cranked technology like this.
Yeah. So that's the juice of the sugar cane.
Turning on the top, turning on the bottom.
Pure sugar.
Yeah.
Well, now you have seen that Mr. Garcia is somebody promoting organic agriculture, and people all over the world now come to see his work. That means people are learning from him, people have heard about him, of the great work he's doing when it comes to sustainable agriculture. We would want everybody to be like Mr. Saul Garcia's farm. For people to understand that life was created in a way that we have to respect it but not to destroy it. The rivers that you see, people bathe in it, people drink and swim in it. These are the type of things we want to continue to have for future generations to have the same thing. We should not set fire and clear lands that others have fought so much to take care of. The future is the flowers we are going to plant, and the flowers will be the fruit we need to harvest in the near life.
Home to countless generations of Mayans, perhaps numbering in the millions, and surviving colonial-era logging. This place truly defines resilience. With the help of dedicated individuals, Belize may yet remain Central America's last best chance to preserve those things that truly define it. Species like the jaguar. I tell you, I long for my children's children to have the opportunity to come here and shudder in the night upon their first experience hearing a black howler monkey. I'm Patrick McMillan, wishing you your own exciting expedition.